Hello and welcome to Sacred Wellness. I am your host, Terry Ann Russell. On this podcast, we honor the power of healing and awakening while diving deep into what it means to rise from the deepest challenges and to reclaim our wholeness, mind, body, soul, and purpose. Today's topic is soulfully guided messages from your higher self. It feels intimate, it's healing, and it's spiritually aligned if you're listening today. I want to jump right in and talk about a little bit about why this topic is a huge topic right now. And we're diving deep in because it's one of my most favorite topics to talk about. It's a lot of what I teach in Sacred Wellness, being guided from your higher self. It's that divine spark of wisdom within you. When we talk about the higher self, sometimes people get confused. But what it really is you, your soul, and that communication that goes on between you. It's a soulful alignment of daily life. It's not just when you call on your soul that they jump in and give you information, but it's also when you need to hear things from them. Maybe you need to see something. Maybe you need to feel something. So your soul is always guiding you. It's never apart from you. It is you. When we think about the higher self, some people like to say it's this wise, old, eccentric piece of us that has lived through many, many different lifetimes. And in this lifetime, it's chose to incarnate as you and jumped right into this life that you're living today. It's a loving part of you, and it exists way beyond your egoic mind. When we talk about the higher self or the soul, we're specifically talking about that piece of us that's always connected. Your soul is the bigger picture, if you will. It's the expansiveness that always exists. It's always filtering information to you. It's your inner voice. I know we've all talked about this before, but it's something that I truly believe in. It's a piece of uh, it's a piece of honoring our deepest truth. It's not just a mystical idea. We all believe we have a soul. Most of us believe we have a soul. So if we do believe we have this soul, why do we believe we're not connected to this soul? When you're connecting to your higher soul, you're tapping into that inner wisdom, that beautiful guided piece of you that's infinite and it's always connected. So when you think about you yourself, you are always connected to the universe. You're never apart from the universe. And a lot of times when we sleep, our soul leaves and visits and plays in those places. Sometimes your higher self can communicate with inner feelings. This for me is a huge one because I am clairsentient, so I feel deeply. Many of you are empaths that have reached out to me, and empaths as well. They feel deeply. So your type of communication from your soul may be this feeling sense that you get. Intuitive nudges are gut feelings. Sometimes an intuitive nudge comes in and it's beyond the logical thinking, but your logical mind is like, well, this is crazy. How's this possible? So it's a piece that is beyond what that thinking is. Stillness and meditation. Stillness and meditation is a wonderful, wonderful way to quiet the mind. And it creates space for your soul to communicate with you. It may give you subtle messages, or it may give you full out sentences. It really depends on, what you're doing, what kind of space you're in. If you're soul journaling, sometimes it comes through as scribbles and then you may hear things. Other times it's full out written sentences. Sometimes it's just a word. A lot of times our soul communicates with us in our dreams. imagine that piece of you in your dream getting all these symbols and signs and imagery, and it wants you to remember it. So it'll wake you up. Sometimes it'll wake you up and ask you to write. When I was early on learning about soul journaling, I would try to wake myself up in the middle of a dream and just, my scribbles were barely readable at that time because it'd be like 3 o'clock in the morning and I'd just be writing out what I'm hearing. But then I would go back and I would remember it. So that morning when I would wake up, I would be able to recapture all that happened. Sometimes even journal prompts, they sort of trigger. You catch a journal prompt and you're like, oh, maybe that's something I need to look at. You see a book. Oh, that sounds really interesting. I think I'll take a look. All of these different things are so many different ways that our soul communicates with us. I'm going to tell you why most people struggle to hear their higher self, or they hear their higher self, but they don't trust what their higher self is saying. Number one, what do you think it is? It's the noise of the mind. And the noise of the mind is so powerful sometimes. Either we can't hear what our soul is trying to tell us, or we heard what our soul is trying to tell us and we're like, I'm not doing that. How many of you have said that? I know I've said that, and often it doesn't work out. Usually I'll get a couple of more nudges before it's a full on, hey, you need to pay attention to this. If you're like me, you may be that person. I'm the kind of person that doesn't do subtlety. So they're like, one, two, okay, let's really give it to her now. So if that sounds like you, just know you're not the only one out there. Originally, when I first started, I thought, well, maybe I'm the only stubborn one around. But often, a lot of times what comes through is things that maybe you think is a little crazy, like moving across the country. You may say to yourself, I don't know how any of this is going to happen. The logical mind often gets involved and says, well, we don't have the money to do this. I don't have a job. You don't have a place to live. We have children, a spouse. How are we going to maneuver all of this? And somehow, once that seed is planted and that ball starts rolling, if it's soulfully guided, it'll bring you through. I'm always amazed at how that works. Stress and chaos. Stress and chaos is number two. When life is hectic or we're emotionally overwhelmed, the connection gets muted. If we're going through grief, the connection gets muted. Often we have so many emotions around different things that are emotionally fueled in our physical world. And that gets in the way of us hearing. Number three, lack of practice. Learning to listen is a skill. It takes presence, self-trust, and consistent spiritual practice. As a society, we've been trained to sort of have a conversation with somebody, and we're already thinking about what we're going to respond with. What's the best way for me to respond to this? So we're not fully present in the moment of what they're saying and allowing for maybe a lapse between conversation. I think often when there's a lapse between conversation comes in, many people sort of get uncomfortable. And so they're like, I have to be prepared for this. I need to know what I'm going to say. And so they're already thinking they're not present. So they're not practicing listening. Number four, what do you think it is? Number four is disbelief and doubt. Disbelief and doubt of what we're being told, seeing, feeling, hearing, knowing. However, your communication comes in from your higher self, and it comes in many different ways, many different times. But your higher self is real and it's always guiding you. I remember one of the first times when I heard about moving to Sedona when we were living in Gilbert. And I was like, there's no way. And every time I say there's no way, because I have a husband, I have children. At that time, we had smaller children, so education was important. Where were they going to go to school? What were they going to do? Where were we going to live? But I kept being guided. And I started part-time, and my husband and I lived in an RV, and we lived up there part-time. So it was 2 hours away from our house, and we lived there on the weekends. And so we'd bring our children with us. He'd watch them because he was off, and I'd work. And after about a year of that, I started getting the nudge again to move full-time. And that was a difficult one because everybody we knew was where we lived. My entire family was here. Our children were here. Anthony was the only one who was up in Flag, so he was like an hour away from us still. But there was nobody there. And I was going to a new place with this um, sort of feeling and knowing, but the messages got stronger and stronger, and I knew I needed to be there. So I told my husband at the time, I said, we can approach this many different ways. I can live up there part-time with our daughter, and come home on the weekends like we're doing now. And I'll live up there during the week and come home here on the weekends. We can move up there full-time. And everything just worked out. Like we didn't have the money to do that. We had a house to sell. We had a business to sell. And so when we moved, it was terrifying. It was only us. We were about, I think we were 50 at the time, and it was only him and I that would move us. So my husband bought a business. We rented a home while had our house up for sale. We found a beautiful school for my daughter, and things moved along. Not as quickly as I would have liked, obviously. Sometimes it takes a little longer when you're receiving messages because sometimes you're a little bit ahead of schedule. I know for me, I'm usually ahead of schedule. But think about it, your higher self's always guiding you. Your higher self is not going to put you in a situation that's not good for you. It's just whether really you want to do it or whether you want to listen to it. And that's part of us having free will. But being soulfully guided is meaning to trust. It's learning to trust that inner voice. I want to talk about some things that really helped me and a lot of things that I use with my clients today. Centering meditation is so powerful for so many different things, healing, connecting. When we start to meditate and we start to receive messages, no matter how you receive them, you will start to receive them. And what I found was the more I do my inner work, the more powerful the messages come through, the easier they are to hear. So I start with grounding, breathing. I'm a big believer in breathing and meditation together. And so when we take our deep breaths and we hold it and we blow it out, and we've talked about this before on this show, that's one of the ways. As you breathe, just imagine as you breathe in, you're breathing in peace. And as you breathe out, you're breathing out tension. And when you breathe, you're inviting your higher self to speak to you. I'm taking this time today to set aside for myself, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time. Many of my clients come from LA and they're always like, I have no time to meditate. And I'm like, you have 10 minutes a day to meditate. That's all it takes for you to start to begin to see, feel, hear, know those messages that are coming through for you. And I'll be honest, most people, I want to know for myself. I don't want to have to rely on other people to go out to. Yes, I do. I have my close friends and associates that I work with, but I also believe and trust what my higher self is saying to me. If it's something really, really big and crazy, I may ask for help from outside because I'm still like in a phase of, could that really work? But I know by now it will really work, and it's just me staying in the way of it. So, centering meditation with breath is really important. Guided meditation, if you have trouble meditating, guided meditation is beautiful. Visualization, we use imagery in guided meditation. So, we ask you to visualize something, to imagine that you're in a place, that you see light, that there's this beautiful, warm, loving, caring energy around you. And that warm, loving, caring energy is so powerful, so unique to you. When I connect with my higher self, there's just this unconditional piece of myself. It's a connection that you have with nobody else. It's yours and yours alone. And so it's unique, and it's unique to you. Something else I like to use with my clients, periodically pausing throughout your day. For me, often when I drive, I become in this state, this meditative state. If I'm in the shower or the bath, a meditative state. Water for me is a conduit. I love water. I love connecting through water. But driving in the car also is very meditative for me. I start to receive many messages, and receive by seeing signs, but I also receive by feeling and hearing. So on a long car trip, and especially by myself, I'll have the radio off and I'll be open to receiving. But when you're in that space and you're stopping throughout the day, you're taking that time to sort of, have you had a rough morning? Did you sit in traffic? Those things sometimes get in our way. And so it's important to take a pause throughout your day. Another thing I like to use with my clients is, what do you think it is? Journaling, reflection, asking your higher self. I put my hands on my heart and I ask my higher self, what do I need to know today? What is most important for me to do? What is the innermost thing that is calling me? And I feel through that. And then I write as if your higher self is writing to you. So you respond in the third person. When I hear messages, I don't hear it from myself, which like Terry Ann, if I'm thinking about something, I'll say, oh, I need to go grocery shopping. When my higher self is speaking to me, they'll say, you should do this. You should do that. Oh, wouldn't it be great to adventure here? See what you can find. Often that's how the messages come through when they're talking to you from your higher self. I like to light candles. I like to use essential oils. I make it a whole practice for myself. But you can do whatever you like to do. And, practices like breath work, energy healing, walking in nature. Oh, walking in nature. Walking in nature is amazing. And I get so many messages and so many signs. And we live in Arizona, so it's beautiful. And we get a chance, obviously, to go outside a lot, except in the summer. But in most of the year, we get to go outside a lot. I think, a lot of what I teach my clients is to learn through practice, consistency, and trust. We've got to trust what information we're being given. When I was being given the information to write a book, I thought they were crazy. When I was being given the information to write to a publisher to ask her if she would publish this book, I thought I was crazy. Every time I thought I was crazy, everything worked out when I followed the guidance I was receiving. And so often for me, a message may pop in, and then maybe I'll have to wait. Maybe it's just not exactly time yet, but it'll come across to me when it is time, and I will see it. And then I'll make the decision if it's something that I really think it's something that Terry Ann, because Terry Ann, the personality, sometimes does not want to do everything the soul wants to do, right? I always say when I leave this life, I pretty much did a lot of what they wanted to do. But there's some things that Terry Ann does not want to do. So obviously you have free will in all of this, but you're always soulfully guided. I want to talk a little bit about decisiveness. Many of us are like stuck in that egoic mind. How do I get this from A to B? I need to know all of the details before I just jump right in. And I am one of those people that have to have a lot of details. But I'm also one of those people that have learned that through the process of what I've done and created and changed within myself, I've been able to sort of feel my way through that navigation. And yeah, it's uncomfortable when you're being told to move 2 hours away from everything you know with your family. There's other people involved. I said this before on the show. There's other people involved. It's not just me. So obviously everybody has to be on board. My husband was very on board. He was ready to make the change. My daughter was young. She was very on board. Another story I can share, when we lived on the road for a year after Anthony passed. When she was younger, I think she was 11 at the time when we started, so 12 when we came back. But she wanted to go to in-person school again, and it was right at the end of COVID. So we agreed that we would lay roots in Arizona again. And that was a process as a family that we made that decision. It's not necessarily something that I wanted to do, because I could live on the road forever if I could. But I had a child and we had animals. So putting down roots, it was something that she wanted and something that my husband thought would be a good thing for us at the time. And I didn't get any kickback from my soul, so that was good. A lot of times their souls are also involved in the conversation. It's all of us together, right? We agreed as a soul group to come in as a family. And so their souls are also involved in all of this information that's being given. And think about it, it's so beautifully, divinely created in a space where there's no fear and no doubt. And then we get into the human body, and all this fear and doubt comes up through our conversations, through our relationships, through our beliefs, through our experiences. And all of that affects who we are. But as we learn to be soulfully guided, we are going back to that one inner true source that we can always trust. This is one of my biggest questions I think that I get so often from people. How do I discern my higher self versus my ego? So think about that for a second. How do I discern my higher self versus my ego? Well, ego tends to be loud, number one. It tends to be fearful. It tends to be reactive. I'm reacting to something. It tends to be um, more doubtful. Your ego was put there for a reason as well. So the higher self tends to be calm, clear, compassionate. They never tell you what to do. They offer a sort of, what does my husband like to say? Suggestion. I didn't tell you what to do, I suggested. So your ego, your higher self is offering you a suggestion. And it's up to you, obviously, if you're going to listen to that suggestion. Ego sometimes push for a quick surface level win. The higher self offers you a deeper long-term alignment. I love that. I love the way that came through to write it out today, because think about the higher self is offering you this long-term alignment. Whereas the ego is like, well, we need to do this right now. We need to move today. But the higher self is saying, no, it doesn't need to be done today. It needs to be done when you're ready for it to be done. And it'll all work out. You're not going to miss the opportunities. So many people write to me and they say, did I miss my opportunity? They told me to do XYZ and I didn't do it. Did I miss it? No. I'm going to say no. There might be people out there that disagree with me, but I'm going to say no, because I believe if it's divinely guided, if it's soulfully guided, that it'll happen. And it'll happen the way that it's supposed to happen, whether you did it in May or you did it 3 years from May. How do I integrate guidance into my daily life? This is a huge one. I get a lot of questions from clients when they come in. I'm working with somebody. How do I integrate this guidance into my daily life? I'm receiving the messages now. I'm trusting most of them, but I'm not integrating it. And how do I create that integration? Is it just, willfully, going in, listening to what they're saying full force? No, more often than not, your personality is involved. If that's your type of personality, you're going all in, that's you. If you're somebody that's more laid back and you have to process a little bit, that's you. It's perfectly okay. But how do you integrate that guidance? And I always say that it's by taking small aligned actions, right? We're taking, maybe it's a boundary, maybe a boundary. Let's use a boundary as an example. Maybe it's a boundary. And maybe the first time you try to set the boundary, they cross the line. And maybe the second time you try to set the boundary, they cross the line. And so you're learning the process, but you're setting the boundaries, right? You're making the choice to set the boundaries now. And so that's helping you. And it's aligned because you're going through it, you're integrating it. It's a process. It's not like, my soul tells me something and I jump right in and I do it. There's a process sometimes that goes on of this unlayering of this fear, doubt, shame, guilt, whatever it is, that causes us to go through this process before we enter that space. I like to use journaling and reflection at the beginning of the day and the end of the day because I like to see what I did. Was I aligned? Did I listen to the messages? Sometimes I pull cards, that may be what I want to do today. People are asking me, what's your script? I don't have a script. I follow what I follow for that day, very simply by holding my hands on my heart. What do I need to know? Higher self, soul, please tell me what do I need to know today? And that's what I follow. And so for you, if you need a script, write one out. If you need one, send me a comment. I'll send you a script. I think it's also important to discuss when you're talking about the soul is energetic hygiene. This is something not talked about enough, and I'm going to talk about it in my book because after Soulfully Guided comes this book. And it's this beautiful book, easy book for you to read, 100 pages, and it'll be coming out in January. But I wanted to share a little bit about practicing energetic hygiene, clearing the space, release what doesn't serve, invite your higher self consistently. I call in my angels and my guides. I call in my son. I call in my dad. I call in my mentor, Roz, who I miss and I admire so much. But I call all those people in and I call them into my space. And I ask only the highest and most benevolent beings that come in and communicate with me. And so I do that daily. Sometimes I do that more than daily, depending on where I am and what I'm doing. If you liked Soulfully Guided today, please subscribe on Spotify and YouTube so you never miss an episode. I have beautiful, wonderful, amazing clients coming up this year. This space has shifted and changed once again, and it's going to be so powerful in the new year for 2026. Please leave me a review. Let me know how you like the show. I get so many beautiful comments and so many beautiful messages from people that share how much one of the shows has helped them, how much one of the guests has helped them have a new perspective. So I'd love to hear from you. Reach out, send me a message, follow me on Facebook. I'm there all the time. Terry Ann Russell, Sassy Soul Healing, Terry Ann Russell, Energy Practitioner. Look me up, I'm there. And I just want to end the show today with a blessing. May you always walk in the light of your soul. May your inner wisdom guide you at every step. And until next time, keep aligning and keep trusting in the divine truth of your soul and be soulfully guided today. Let your inner guidance show you the way. As we're all going through an amazing shift through the spiritual awakening that has been happening the last few years, there's this divine alignment of beauty that's coming through, and people are unlayering things that have held them back in the past. And so your soul is truly speaking to you now on Soulfully Guided. Until next week, I hope you all have a beautiful and blessed week.